Okay, so what I wanted to discuss today is a very, very fascinating subject. And the subject is like this. It's a very important idea from Hasidus and from Kabbalah, which is that it says that you basically have to almost have a split personality. Israel, can you put your phone on mute? Um, the story is that the very important idea from Hasidus and from Kabbalah, and the idea is that in a way, a person has to be able to like split their personality. You have to because we all have really two personalities. People don't realize they have two personalities, but when they realize they have two personalities, um, then they don't have any problems. And that's really the whole idea of the Tanya, because the Tanya is teaching us that it says in Shamais Ani Asisi, I made souls. In other words, where a person is not made up of one person, a person is made up of two people. And that's why we have within us a godly soul, and the godly soul basically wants God. And then we have what's called an animal soul, and an animal soul, like all animals, they want pleasure and they don't want pain. And there's certain things that give them pleasure, and certain things that give them pain. So, for example, if I'm an animal, I don't know, any type of animal has its own things. If I'm a panda bear, I like bamboos. Bamboos give me pleasure. I don't want to be hungry. Bamboos make me feel good. Grass doesn't work for me. I'm not a carnivore. If I'm a lion, I don't know, eating, whatever, copulation, my children. There are different things that give me pleasure and different things that give me pain. So every soul has pleasure and pain. Now the godly soul, which is a spark of God, what does it want? It basically wants its connection to Hashem. Its pleasure is like a son with a father. What's the pleasure of the son? Being with the father. What's the pain of the son? Being away from the father. This is the pleasure and pain. So the story is that um, once we understand we have two souls, we also have to understand we have like an even higher soul than this. And this is really the whole purpose of the world, and that is that Hashem is the soul of your soul. Hashem is the source, right? Even your soul, it says Chamisha Shemis Nikrula, there are five parts of the soul, Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaya, Yechida. So the highest part of the soul, Yechida, even though it's so high, and it's like the sun to Hashem, and it wants Hashem, and it's like one with Hashem, it's not the essence of the soul. Why? Because if there are five names to the soul, that means the soul has an essence. You can only call something, like if you're calling me, there's a me that you're calling. So my name is not me. In fact, the name is like a very far from the essence of what something is. So the real essence of a soul is Hashem himself. So Hashem himself, our deepest soul, wants to be what's called Dira B'Tachtonim. Hashem wants to live within us over here. Now, how does he do that? He does that through connecting. Hashem connects to us. Hashem guides us. So the thing is this, that by nature, a person wants to, everybody, like one of the greatest doctors on addiction, his name was Dr. Twersky, Rabbi Abraham Twersky. He came from great Rebbes. He wrote over 80 books. So he said we're all really, the addicts have this thing that if a person becomes addicted, they say I'm an addict, right? They have this term, I have a disease, my disease is addiction, and I got to work with my disease. So that's what they say to make themselves understand that they have a problem. Now you had an amazing story that God healed you, but when a person has a problem, they have a problem. It's not a joke. So, but the thing is, everybody is an addict. It just depends to what. Because one person's getting pleasure from, alcohol, and even spirituality can be an addiction, because that could be pleasurable to you. Everything that and that's why it says in Sefer Yetzirah, one of the primary books of the Torah, a book written by Abraham, if your heart runs to Hashem, return back. In other words, the goal of life is not so much running to Hashem, but allowing Hashem to run you. That's the goal. So the problem is like this. It's a very interesting problem. it's brought down, the Alter Rebbe speaks about this, that let's say a person has, I don't know, good davening. He davens to Shem, and he's very passionate, etc., etc. But then what happens is he actually gets so, his emotions get so, it's like a fire, right? You're making a big soup and it's like nice. But now you have a problem because if you're not careful, you can burn the soup. So fire is important, but if you're not careful with fire, it can actually destroy. And the same thing as emotions and passion to Hashem. Like the other day we said, the amazing teaching the Baal Shem Tov, I think was based on the side you're going, that a person has to actually enjoy things in this world. Why? Because then he has a sense of pleasure, then he can turn the pleasure to Hashem. If you don't enjoy anything, then you're not even be motivated to Hashem. But be that as it may, the thing is when a person has pleasure, then the pleasure can become an addiction. And then what's driving you is not what Hashem wants you to do. What's driving you is what you want, what's comfortable for you. Now, this is the famous story of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva, there were 4 people that nichnusu leparis. They went into all the secrets of Judaism. They went into the pshat, the remez, the drush, the soid, everything. They went into the whole story. Now, what happened was that one of them died. His soul had Kollel nefesh, was so in touch, so inspired, it died. Another one, what happened was he went crazy. Another one became a heretic, and only Rabbi Akiva was better for the experience. So what was the difference of Rabbi Akiva and the others? Because it says that Rabbi Akiva nichnas b'shalom v'yatz b'shalom. He came in peace and he went in peace. Well, what does it mean to come in peace? It means he didn't go into the secrets of the Torah because he was looking for the secret. He was going to the secrets of the Torah because he was looking to do the will of Hashem, and Hashem wants us to study Torah. So you can serve God because it's good for me, and then it's like the famous thing in Pirkei Avos. It says that a person has there are 2 kinds of loves. There's a selfish love and a selfless love. So the selfish love it stops when your desire stops. In other words, if the only reason I love you is, let's say I think you have money, I can get some of that money. So let's say you lose your money, then I don't love you anymore. This guy told me his wife had left him once his money gone. So she never really loved him. If somebody loves you, they love you, they respect you, whether you have money or you don't have money. It doesn't matter. So the idea is that our service of Hashem has to be one in which we know that He is Hashem and He's true, and I'm doing the truth by following Him. Now, sometimes I have to have a high, have to turn the fire on, but sometimes I have to turn the fire off. Sometimes you have to go and do a mitzvah. A person that's just studying Torah, and he's not. Unfortunately, today there's a mentality. It never really was in Jewish history, of mentality by certain groups that their whole thing of life is study Torah their whole life. But that's not how Hashem made the world. Hashem made the world that you're meant to do good. So it's true that studying Torah is very good and very holy, but that's only if you're also helping other people. If you're not helping, Hashem didn't need to make a world so everybody should study Torah. We could be in heaven, and in heaven we know our brains are better, the Torah is so wiser, everything would be fine. He put us on earth to make the earth a better place. So everything in this world is here to serve the world, to make the world better. If you mix it up and you start to think, my whole purpose in life is to like get to heaven and just think about heaven, then you're making a big mistake. But the thing is that the body by nature is addicted to its pleasures. So how do you get rid of the addictions that a person has? So in order to get rid of the addictions, a person has to despise themselves. How does a person despise themselves? A person should think about all the bad things they did, right? Because the klippa, the arrogance is in the self. And when you think, look at all the bad I did, then suddenly you're not so proud, you're not so arrogant. It's not like, because once you're humble, then the other thing you should do is you have to make yourself love most the voice of Hashem that's in you. And that's what you want to succeed. Because really what's happening, like we said, the fire that drives a person is the ego. It's not so much that I want this, cookie or something. When I see a cookie and I want the cookie, let's say you take away the cookie from me, I might get very upset. Am I so upset because the cookie was so important? No, but you hurt my ego because I believe I should have a cookie and you took it away from me. So in other words, what happens here is a situation where the individual is going to come, and the individual is going to say that, why did you do this thing? because and what's bothering him is not so much the pleasure that he's lacking. What's bothering him is that you hurt his ego, you offended him. And so that's the funny thing, is behind all the drives that we have lies behind it is the ego, that I want to get what I want. Meaning, it's not even that the thing is that pleasurable, but the fact that I already want it, I want to get what I want. And this you can see with little children. A little child wants something, then you can just say, "Oh, forget about it." How now they'll throw a tantrum, but then you distract them, you make them want something else. So it can't be that they really wanted that thing, because how could they forget about it in 1 second? But they want to get their way, and that's the way we are. That the ego has this tremendous desire to get its way. So, in order to so we have to have the same passion, the same amount. The Baal Shem Tov speaks about this. You want to learn how to serve Hashem, look at the Yetzer Hara. The same drive that he has to make you Meshuggah and take you away from Hashem, that amount of effort, that amount of energy, you have to put that energy into actually fulfilling the will of Hashem. So that's what I want. You use your ego for a new direction. My ego is here. The Zevi Weinberg exists. Why? To do the will of Hashem. That's it. And once you do that, so you'll do it. You'll succeed in it, because that's what you want. So again, if you have a pot of soup and you just have a fire, and inside the pot there's something healthy and something unhealthy. So you want it all. You're boiling it all together. There's a mix. And it's not healthy when we have this mix, because part of us has desires for bad things and part of us is a desire for good things. So you have to be able to pull away these two things. You have to be able to take out the bad part of the soup and leave in the good part of the soup. How do you do that? You say, well, inside of me, let's say inside the soup, there's a piece of, meat, which let's say for me is not healthy. And you have to remind yourself, meat is terrible for me. It's bad. And so that way you cut yourself away from that. And there's, a carrot, and the carrot is good for you. Then you have to remind yourself, wow, carrots are the best thing for me. I love carrots. And so in this way, what we do is we don't just say, oh, I love myself, I'll give myself everything, or I don't like myself, I'll give myself nothing. No, there's a part of me that I don't like, the body part, which just wants, just like any animal, just physical pleasure, and he doesn't think. And then there's a soul part of me, which is the voice of Hashem, which only wants what's good and what's true. And I love that, because that's who I am. That's what I believe in too. And that's why the Rebbe says that ultimately the whole idea of listening to Hashem is really listening to your own self, because we are all good by nature. We all want to do good. The way of Yiddishkeit, a person who listens to Hashem and follows the will of Hashem, he's not running away, God forbid, from himself. He's running towards himself, because it's the essence of every single person is good and holy. L'chaim v'levracha.